Welcome to the Infinite Evolution Podcast, where you'll receive keys and codes to help you unlock your next level of joy, radiance, health, wealth, intuition, embodiment, and soul purpose. This is a space for lightworkers, healers, spiritual entrepreneurs, and anyone who wants to share their soul gifts with the world. We'll be exploring personal, spiritual, and professional growth and ascension through both the esoteric and magical and the tangible and practical. I'm Casey Aileen Knight, coach, mentor, as well as divine channel and soul gift activator. I founded the Luminous Evolution brand to help you elevate your business and beingness and light up the world. So glad you're here. Let's dive in. Hello, beautiful ones. I am so excited to be having a conversation today with someone who I have spoken with before on her podcast, Soul Threads. In the conversation we had, I was like, I cannot wait to speak to you again. Come and speak on the Infinite Evolution podcast because we are not done yet. And also, I'm obsessed with her voice and her energy. It flows so beautifully. So, thank you, Kelsey, for joining us.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me. What a delight.
Oh, it is my pleasure. So, I want to share just a few sentences for people to get to know you in terms of what it is you do, but then they're going to feel your energy and understand more deeply why I was so excited to chat. So, Kelsey is a psychic medium and intuitive energy healer. She guides people to awaken their intuitive, wild hearted truths and live in soulful alignment. So, through psychic mediumship, spirit led guidance, and embodied energy work, she supports those called to connect with spirit and walk their soul's path with clarity and trust. And her work is an invitation into remembrance, resonance, attunement, and creating space to connect with loved ones beyond the veil. And just speaking that, I could feel this resonance personally, but also
Mm.
this calm and peace that you carry in your field that I can only imagine lets your clients feel at ease, even when they're going through some really rough shit.
Thank you for saying that. And just hearing that back is such a treat, honestly, to have that reflected. It wasn't always this way, but I feel like, yeah, I've walked home into that more and more.
Mm. You can feel it. It's palpable. And can I just say thank you on behalf of all of humanity and the universe? People embodying this level of personal peace, clarity, and presence is one of the things that is required for humanity to make it through this crazy time that we're in. So I really appreciate what you are anchoring in for yourself, for your clients, and also for the collective.
Thank you. I really received that. I'm going to let that just simmer in there for a minute.
Good. I love that. This is another beautiful sacred practice that I would like to just illuminate for people who are listening, who might, like me and possibly you in the past, take a or receive a compliment partially and like scooch on by it and be like, oh my God, thank you, and then move on to the next thing immediately. Or deflect it entirely. Oh, no, 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 no. I couldn't possibly receive that. So being, again, in that presence of allowing yourself to receive is such a beautiful example to other people.
I appreciate you noting that because it certainly took many years of reflection and some deep shadow work and working through a lot of wounds in that area, I will call it, to feel worthy of
Mhm.
receiving in all areas. And when I guess how it came about, I'll just shed a tiny bit of light, is when I realized that we are all worthy all the time of receiving and we are just born beautifully connected. I went, oh, we're all supposed to be receiving this. And I didn't feel maybe as much shame or guilt, at the time that kicked in over time of like, I've been doing it wrong. And then I realized, nope, that's just my journey and my path. And when I moved into receiving, things started clicking into place that I had were beyond my wildest expectations and dreams and visions in that area.
Oh, I love the way this conversation is going already because there are so many people that are listening right now that are on this journey to create more abundance. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
the people who listen are coaches, healers, soul workers, transformational guides, entrepreneurs, light leaders, or just humans in general who are like, I want more.
Mm-hmm.
And we can be wanting more and be completely desiring it consciously, and we can be so closed off from actually receiving it. And this right here about compliments is like a little micro slice of checking into our availability to the abundance that is our birthright that we were born worthy of, and nothing has changed except for our own trauma and stuff that has come up.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a micro. It's like a really great way to notice there and then have it expand into all the other areas. It's like if my nervous system can hold this, then let's expand it and see what else it can hold. And I just think it's beautiful to give ourselves permission to expand in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is already a really brilliant opportunity for people to check in and say, like, how open am I to receiving compliments, support, right? Will you let people
Mm.
help you? Or you're like, oh, no, 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 I got it. I got it. I'm good. I had that one very deeply, a
Oh,
little
yes.
hyper independent trauma response. And then
Yeah.
also receiving without giving something in return and automatically wanting to be reciprocal with it. You come up across those.
Yes. All of them. And there's a few more to add. The big one for me, I will add, is over giving as a means of control.
Mm,
And a lot through like paying for things for others, but realizing it was more of a means of like feeling good about myself and not necessarily a reciprocal energy. And so, gosh, there's been so much to move through. And I'm actually just very happy to have come up across these because I
mm,
think it allowed me to look at that before I started helping other people in this field.
mm. And I think when healers and guides don't do that, they will wind up burnt out, sick, broke, and resentful.
Mm. I was going to say the trifecta, but there's more there.
Yeah, I could have kept going.
The infinity of, yeah, you're so spot on with that. How do you see that show up? Like, how do you see that in your own practice? I feel so intrigued.
Well, I want to share actually how it's shown up for me in my life in terms of
Mm,
capacity and my business because I see it for other people too. And we were speaking before we came on the recording about how intense everything is and how we're helping people navigate that. And we want to talk about that. But everyone that I know is going through a personal evolutionary journey as well as wanting to like build a business, build abundance and everything like that. And I have had times where I was wanting consciously more clients, more money, more, but I was not actually getting it. And usually it'll flow to me like magic when I'm open and receptive and
mhm,
available. And it has nothing to do with strategy. I know all of those pieces and everything like that, and everything to do with my availability for more, which is nervous system and capacity stuff. And when I am full, and feeling unsupported, that's one of the times where I will close down when I'm like, I
mhm,
actually cannot handle one more stress, one more thing on my plate. And that includes clients and that even includes money because more just feels unsafe. And so once I realized that, I had to look at the energy leaks in my life that were happening and go, what can I take off my plate so I don't feel like everything is too much? And for me, part of that was bringing in more childcare and getting my husband to do more of bedtime and things like that, which,
Mhm.
is much easier now. But at the time, I was just holding too much. I was overly responsible, and I wasn't letting myself be supported by other people or the divine. I was trying to hold it myself. And I have seen that in so many clients where I'm like, you think you're open, but you're full. So you can't be, right? They say you can't pour from an empty cup. You also can't fill up a cup that's full. Right. Like we want to give from the overflow, but not from the overwhelm, I guess.
Mm. Oh, I need that somewhere I can see it. So I'm gonna
And
go note that.
yeah, so I went through this journey and I've helped clients with that. But then there's this next level and layer to it where there's been times where I have, as a light leader who is on my own personal journey, where I have had to go into almost like a cocoon and I've had to let go of almost everything extra in order to be in a space of receiving. Almost like if I didn't have the responsibilities I had, I would have been called out to the desert to, like, or a cave to like meditate and fast and pray on my own. But because I could not just leave, I had to energetically cocoon myself from taking on more. And this was a like tricky time because I could not receive more clients. I could not, even create
Mm.
content. I just had to be where I was at and I couldn't rush it because there was this metamorphosis happening, this evolution that was bringing me to my next level of mastery and embodiment and all of these things. And there is no nervous system regulation for that. There is no rushing it. You cannot basically open the cocoon halfway and expect something to survive. So
Yeah.
that part is about patience and finding ways to move through that and identifying which one you're at. Are you in overwhelm or are you in the cocoon or void space for that next level evolution being gestated?
Yeah, and they feel oddly similar in some ways, don't they? Like there's a lot of crossover.
There's a lot of crossover. I feel like because I have done the death rebirth thing so many times personally.
Yeah,
I can
same.
identify it at this point, but there
Mm.
is a lot of overlap. And that's why, like personally for me, I needed some guidance outside of myself. I have always invested in mentorship and healers and guides to hold me. And I
Yeah.
actually need them more when I'm in that kind of space to remind me that
Mhm.
it's okay to not be doing all the things right now because I want to. And it is not my natural instinct to let things just be.
Oh my gosh, there are so many similarities. I'm just thank you for sharing that and like reflecting that because I'm sitting here going, yeah, yeah, 100%. The death rebirth is so interesting, isn't it? Because at the first, what I would call like the first few in my early 20s, really, I didn't recognize what was happening. And then as you go through a few, you start to go, oh, here we are in the spiral right back of
Hmm.
things, and we're gonna go through this yet again, and we know what we can do. But motherhood for me just broke that into a thousand fragments, and I had to piece it all back together in a new piece of artwork. It didn't look the same as the one before.
Absolutely. And I know as well that it is one of the deepest initiations into our
Mm-hmm.
personal power, into our healing, into levels of love that we could not even fathom before. So I'd
Yeah,
love to hear a little bit about your journey as a mother and an entrepreneur, because that's a lot of balls to be juggling, and the
it
overwhelm
is.
is real.
It is, and the balls are all different shapes too, right? I've got a triangle and I've got a square and a starburst cosmic happening. Yeah, my journey started out where I was in the corporate world and I just was suffering an extent that I needed to suffer to understand it's not where I was meant to be. And I panic attacks, just barely being able to drag myself there every day. We were living in Seattle at the time. And I knew in my heart for years it's not where I was supposed to be. But I had a goal and I had to achieve that goal. And when I got there, I realized, oh, there's no arrival, right? There's no, this will make me happy. Being in your 20s, at least for me, was dismantling all of the belief systems that I thought that I needed to carry with me and setting them down one by one and choosing new ones and sometimes discarding those too and choosing new ones yet again. And it has led me over the years. I started a Reiki practice right when COVID hit. So about 2 weeks before I opened the doors to my rental office space within a healing practice, and then took that online. But I was still juggling both. And I felt this ache, this deep ache, and this connection with my guides. And I knew it was coming for me,
Mhm.
whether I was willing to meet it or not. And when I had my son, it just completely evolved from there. I just started accepting, visioning mentors, so many containers, so many coaches. I mean, it was everything from therapy to coaching, and then it moved into energy work, then it moved into psychic medium support, and then group work, and then business coaching, but the very like spiritual, earthy kind of business coaching. And it helped me understand that support was my gift, like the gift coming for me from spirit, from my guides. Like every time I didn't know where to turn, a teacher or a mentor would show up. And it's still happening that way. I'm still very much always in some sort of support structure for this business. And it is vital. I will say it is what has illuminated the possibility of life.
Uh, I am also just breathing that in because I understand how deeply important it is to be held and to feel
Mm-hmm.
connected and supported if you're in a supporting role. But your son, you said you had him just in what, 2021 or
2020.
2020? He's
Yeah.
just a little baby still. I know 5 is, 4 actually would be
Mm-hmm. Four and a
running
half.
around, 4.5. But oh my goodness, you are still in the thick of the really hard part. I mean, it's gotten
I
easier,
am.
but from someone, I have a 9-year-old and a 21-year-old, and let me tell
Mm,
you, very soon it's gonna get miles easier, and you're gonna feel this spaciousness opening up. Ah, I'm so excited for you.
thank you. I feel it too. I feel it on almost within the next like year or two, this corner turning it slow. And I'm just soaking up all of this. And our family has made such a change because we decided to go nomadic and live where we're in Scotland right now. We're going to be heading to, oh, I guess I'm dropping this news, Ireland. We'll be in Ireland and for a few months. And my husband left the corporate world to support me in this work. So he's now with our son as the like full-time parent, so to speak, but it's very flexible, right? We're still just always around all the time. And it's been big shifts. This has been in the last 2 months. This has happened for us.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations on living what so many people would consider the dream. My husband stayed home with my daughter for about 2 years, and it was the best
Wow.
2 years of my life. I loved it so much.
It's so true, right? When you have this soul calling, my husband looked at me and he said, the thing that has met you, that you feel in the deepest parts of you, that is just welling up to be shared and to serve and your mission, I don't have that yet right now. So I want to just be a dad and have fun. And you get to go out into the world and like do that because that feels really important.
Mm, I'm covered in goosebumps because that is so divine. And like honoring people who don't have supportive partners right now because my husband is also incredibly supportive.
Yeah.
But this is honestly what it takes. Yes, you could do it alone, but the challenges that you will face if you don't have support are so much greater. The risks of burnout and getting sick and dropping the balls is
Yeah.
like, it's just exponential. Because here's the thing, when you and I and all of these women, specifically who are mothers, stepped into our soul mission at the same time to be healers, teachers, guides, we're doing something that has not been done in our current modern family structure. We did
Yeah.
it in more ancient times, but that's when the village was around, so it wasn't all on us. And there are women that will ask me, "How do you do it?" And I have to say, I could not possibly do it alone. And
Mhm.
usually when they're asking that, they've been trying to, and they're wondering why it's not working.
Yeah. There's so much insight there that you've shared. And I also honor for those who don't have what they would consider their spousal support or partner support. What I've been so just blown open by is watching women with this soul calling move into a different version of that support, whether they're moving next door or together and co parenting children or changing their dynamic structure. I have a few examples in my life of women doing this, and I am sparkling with just delight at what they are allowing themselves to receive when the modern structures aren't quote unquote set up for that support.
Yeah. And this is, I believe, the only way we can do it. And it's also the way of the future. It's the new paradigm. Like the old paradigm that we are shifting and moving away from has been about separation and scarcity and not enoughness. And it's been disconnection from our true nature, from ourselves, from each other, and from the divine, and from our personal power and our health
Yeah.
and our intuition and all of that. So that
All of
old
it.
paradigm is so dense and so heavy. And right
Mhm.
now we're in the birth canal of birthing this new paradigm, a new experience on planet Earth. Some people just call it New Earth, but there's no light switch moment. I think you would be with me on that. We are
Yeah.
co-creating it, and it's being born through the hearts and the fields of the people who are choosing something different, who are choosing to go first and do things a, I'm going to put new in quotes, but a new way that is
Mhm.
often returning to the more ancient natural organic practices, but also bringing through all of the wisdom and experience from what we have tried that hasn't been working.
Just a few things.
Right? Yeah, we're
Yeah.
really on the way. And I think that the leaders of this revolution, so many of us are mothers and we
Mhm.
are healers and guides and leaders who can see new ways of being and who are bravely saying, it doesn't matter what other people are doing right now. It's not working for me. I'm choosing something new.
Yeah, wow. You said that so beautifully. It's a wake up every day and say, I am going to listen to that intuitive whisper, nudge, shout, whatever's coming through. I'm going to do what lights me up, what brings me joy, what brings happiness, but not the arrival of happiness, but just in every moment, right? That just like receiving of noticing and gratitude. And it is for me also holding capacity for all of being human and still feeling that as my truth, as my current that I operate with. Like hope and joy are the current of my life. And I still bounce through all the other human emotions, but now they serve the current. They go into the slipstream together
Mm.
as unity. And that feels like so many people are waking up and co-creating. I also see this when you mentioned that one thing that really jumped out to me, and I have a feeling you see this too, but when you're reading someone or you're with their energy, the visual feeling or knowing of disembodiment is so visual. It is, you can see the energy out of the body, you can see the threads of connection, but you can see it pushed up and out, whether it's hovering at the top or just completely out of the body. And when you work with someone to bring their life force energy, soul, like back into their full embodiment, you see this light return of like, oh, we're here. And everything in our life asks us to stop paying attention, to be disembodied. Well, all of the external cultural factors, at least. And when we reject those and return to embodiment, it is a whole new path of existence.
Absolutely. And I feel like so many of us have been squeezed by like trauma, by the drama
Mm-hmm.
of life on Earth, so much of which wasn't even ours. Some of it has been
No.
ancestral. And it's
Yeah.
all so connected, but I do see it very visually, and it's being squeezed, and people's energy field is like a second skin instead of
Mm-hmm.
being the massive field that it is supposed to be. And we can go into, if we wanted to, about like fears of taking up space and being too much. But really, when we're squished because we don't feel safe, our soul doesn't have room in the body to actually inhabit it. So it does pop up and out. And I love working with people to create that space, to
Mm-hmm.
expand their creation container, to bring themselves back into the body and have the clear and clean energetic and emotional current that we need, that is giving the opportunity to be 100% human and feel the feelings and not just store them, because that's the stored feelings that we don't
Yeah.
feel. They're part of what creates that density that the
Mm-hmm.
body cannot have that and the soul in fully at the same time. But it also, allows people to have the experiences that you're speaking of, the peace, the allowing, the presence. You can't be present if you're not in your body, and your presence is where all your power and your magic actually is accessible. And also, just while we're on the topic, for women especially, your pleasure is
Yeah.
also where that life force energy is. And if you're disembodied, your body is numb. You can't enjoy anything from, like sexual pleasure to just enjoying your food and life itself.
Yeah. I love that you brought up both the sexual pleasure and the food and just taste and smells and fabric. As a neurodiverse human on top of it all, with pretty intense what I would describe as ADHD or exploring ADHD at this time, I can tell you that to be present looks different for me maybe than it does for someone else. But for me, presence is actually not clearing the mind, it's allowing my mind to enjoy every single thing in that moment. Every
Oh, yeah.
texture, every fabric, like every taste, because for a busy mind, that's where my presence lies.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing, when you have, a neurodivergence, ADHD, autism, any of those combos, um, you have literally more like neural pathways. You're
Mm-hmm.
processing more information, which can be really overwhelming. So, also reasons some people wind up leaving their body because it's just too intense. But
Yep.
when we can turn that, what could be seen as a weakness or a deficit, actually into balance, it can become a superpower to have that level of sensitivity, because the joy,
Yeah.
the power, the presence that you can have from being in a human form is just so much more potent.
Yeah, you said that beautifully as well. And I have claimed it. Like I understand everyone's needs are different, but for me, I love the form that I was dropped into now or that I chose. Like I love that this is the way that I perceive the world because it's just so rich and open and beautiful and deeply attuned. And I think it's actually part of what allows me to do this work or has found me in this way is that ability to sense beyond pretty swiftly and easily. And it feels very just like open, right? The energy just opens up to connect with somebody.
Yeah, being energetically sensitive allows you to have so much more access to the things that people would call extrasensory perception, coupled with some magical pattern recognition to allow you to see things, perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
that other people might not connect. It absolutely can be a thing that sets you apart as a healer and as an intuitive. So I love that you're honoring that. And I have always, Because I'm the amount of neurodivergence and ADD and autism in my life and my family and everything it makes me chuckle because I've always, since the very first time I knew what it was, I was like, oh, I think they're just tuning into different frequencies. And then I heard someone call it attention dialed into a higher dimension.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, yes, exactly. This makes sense. And the ability to
Yeah.
move through different frequency bandwidths is such a special thing because people that have a limitation on their ability to tap into those different frequency bandwidths are like, in some ways, to me, I feel like it would be like being blind or deaf because to me, it's just part of my world to be able to talk to spirits and trees and the divine and Gaia, and not having that would make me feel so cut off and so alone. And we were talking about how important it is to feel connected. So, I haven't completely unpacked like the difference between that neurodivergence versus neurotypical, if such a thing exists. But I
I'm
do
not,
love
yeah.
working with people to expand their sensory perception. I think almost everyone can.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just got so excited about what you were saying. And I struggle with the labels. I use them because it helps people feel seen and heard that also may have that diagnosis. But for me, it is such a spectrum of just human being, and it's just labeling a neurotype that's been part of the human experience for as long as we can imagine humans being here. That's
Absolutely.
my take on it. And I think that tuning into those frequencies is part of it. It is feeling through it, and not everyone needs to have the same ability or skill set, because we work as this beautiful community where we're all bouncing off each other's energies. And I guess a world where everyone was ADHD would be pretty intense. It'd be kind of crazy. So we all are different. So it's like, are we going to all label every single human, or are we just going to accept that we're all different and work in our strengths and work in our beautiful abilities and like live what calls us? My life wasn't always rosy. I struggled with it for so long. And I was exactly the example you spoke about, of it all being too much and just out of my body. The squeeze, like when I started this work, even my beautiful, wonderful teacher was like, oh boy, okay, you need support. And I am here and we're going to do this. Like, we're going to work through this,
Mhm.
because I was ready to just like leave my body energetically at any moment. Yeah.
I see that so often. And then I've also witnessed the beauty of when someone can actually create the space and the capacity and do the healing to come in, and how freaking magical and worth it is. And you exemplify that. You're holding these codes in your body of what it looks like. And I know that you are walking around sharing those with people that you meet, with the collective, and also with your clients. And I think there's also this, not just the neurodivergence and the sensory sensitivities that can come along with that and that extrasensory perception, but all of these spiritual gifts that have been either coming online for you or that you have owned that perhaps were always there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's not an easy road either, especially if, there has been trauma around them in the past, which I think every human has. So tell me, was it an, a remembering of them? Were they always there, or was there some kind of flip that switched on for you?
It's a little bit of both in multiple layers, and I'll walk you through it as easily as I can. But it was there in childhood. There's definitely trauma around just the dismissal without it necessarily being an angry dismissal. It was just a, that's your childhood imagination,
Mhm.
or this. And it really, if I'm being completely honest, it came from what I call the school wound. What I've learned is what is called the school wound of fitting yourself into a box, not being allowed to express those things in a school environment, permission seeking. And so it wasn't as much happening at home as it was in the school environment, actually. Like, my mom is very intuitive, very open. And so I really, and I have an aunt who is as well. And then I've just learned one side of my family has healers all the way up it.
Mm.
And I've just learned that. And so it was a remembering, in the sense that I turn the dial down as much as I could for as many years as I could until it wasn't holding anymore and it kind of burst open like a dam. And then it was not just the remembering of that, but of multiple past lives where I've also had this ability and have been in similar or roles or however you would call it, right, healing capacities in
Mm.
past lives. So it was multiple layers of understanding that.
Absolutely. And I know that they are making great strides in a lot of places for the kids nowadays to really
Mm-hmm.
allow them to retain that. But I also am so excited for our children who get that level of sensitivity and remembering supported instead of,
Yeah.
squished out. The imagination thing is such a key. I like to say that your imagination is your interface with and interpreter of the etheric energies. Right? And there's so many
Mm-hmm.
people that feel like they're blocked that like, oh, I can't see, I have no clairvoyance. And it's like, okay, well, how do you imagine things? Let's just use your imagination. And they're like, no, but
Yeah.
then I'm making it up. And it's like, but are you? Right? There's so
Yeah.
much magic in reclaiming that piece that people have shut down. Right? So many of us. And do people come to you to help turn on or reclaim some of those gifts the same way that you have in your
Yeah, they
healing?
do. They do more and more. And even I will go back. There's my son said to me the other day, speaking of that child remembrance of like, I am nature. And when I feel like nature, I just feel like giving everybody a hug. And my heart just went, what? Like, I think I like left the earth, came back because I just, in a moment, I was like, he has space to be. And when humans have space to be like that, they are, anything is possible. Unstoppable and is a very most basic word I can even come up with right now. But going back to your question a little bit, when people come to see me, I think they read about what I do and they go, okay, I'm going to get healing and guidance and support and a reading and some things confirmed. And then when we're in it, the work unveils itself, the visions, the support, everything in the channel comes through. And then there's a lot of, oh, okay, so I got something completely different. And then I'm going to return for that piece. I'm going to
Mhm.
return for that remembering. So the initial reading is usually a place of trust and foundation and evidence and connection and healing. And then as everyone returns time and time again, there's just layers and layers of remembrance and love that we bring through. Yeah.
I love that. That is just so special that you get to walk people through this. Now, I know a lot of your clients are also showing up with the overwhelm, with
Mm-hmm.
everything, be it, their perhaps fear of their own power and gifts coming on in the background and subconscious, which is, I think, one of the reasons they'd be drawn to you because they could
Yeah.
feel on that soul level that you could support them with. But in the more immediate, a lot of people have been overwhelmed with this crazy energy that's really illuminating everything that's out of alignment, every single thing personally, professionally, and then also like geopolitically. Everything is chaos as the systems and
Yeah.
structures are starting to crumble. What kinds of support are you able to offer people when they're in that space of like, I just can't even?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. What really comes through is what had come through a few months ago, which was taking the process I've used in my personal life and with clients over time and getting clear on it, receiving it, and now teaching it. So it's something I recorded for people to have self service. And then it's something that I'm starting to do more of in session, which
Mhm.
is a lot of code activation, a lot of remembering who they are, a lot of walking them through the process of getting like this soul deep clarity through the energy flowing in, the information flowing in, and really focusing on receiving. So many times when we're in that stress state, in these transitional times, and there's chaos, and we're kind of feeding into it or giving away our energy when we feel like we have to, um, giving that boundaried space, protecting the energy, making sure that they're unblocked in as many ways as they can be opening up that channel for receiving, and then building trust with the information is really the foundation of the work. Because when people start to trust their intuitive, clairvoyant, clairsentience, all their clairs, they start to believe, oh, I am my own well of information, of light, of possibility, of knowledge. And they're tapping into source and they're tapping into themselves. And that feels like the gift that I can give the world is this remembrance of walking home to themselves right now.
I'm just breathing that in because that remembrance, I think, is the solution to basically all of our problems. So thank you for sharing that with people.
Yeah.
We were also speaking about this earlier about that disconnection and how
Mm-hmm.
when we feel alone, nothing feels easy, everything feels scary, and it feels impossible in many ways because it is, because we were
Yeah.
never designed to do this alone. So when we can reconnect people with the truth of who they are and with the divine energies around them and all of the support that's already available that we just sometimes can't receive because we're in that dysregulated state or we are shielding ourselves from it or we don't trust it, like everything changes for people when they feel that divine connection. What shifts have you noticed for maybe yourself or other people when they do go through the process?
Yeah, I'll start with myself. And I've seen it with a lot of clients where their life has just completely shifted into this whole new realm of understanding and possibility. But for me, I went from believing that I was just honestly kind of a victim of life, like I was here and it was going to be hard no matter what, to show me how beautiful it can be, like
Mhm.
working with my guides, working with the energy, and then flipping every question, every belief system on its head, everything that I walk through life as, and embodying this different version of myself that I believe to be more true, more of a remembrance, more love. Like it felt walking home to myself, I could help other people walk home to themselves. And yeah, it feels like an expansion of possibility. And I'm, even in the most tragically hard times I've experienced in my life, it's still, I look at that and I go, okay, here we are. And we're moving through it. And now we get to make this new possibility out of what we know. I never thought that I would even grace this. And now being in it full time, working in it, I'm just like, I have to show up in this space for the rest of my life. There's no other way for me. And my clients, I am so blessed to have beautiful soulmate clients finding me right now at every turn. It has been the manifestation of my dreams, to be completely honest. It wasn't always this way. And one thing about soulmate clients is they give you feedback when you don't ask for it, even. And so
Mhm.
some of the emails I've been receiving and just connection points has been a new journey for me to be able to receive that type of love back in
Mhm.
helping them walk their path. But I think really what it dials into is they say, okay, my life, it can look like this. And we get to the core of it and say, guess what? Your life can look however it needs to look to connect with you, to be in alignment and clarity and from a place of love. And like using that love as this driving force of action where it ripples out to everybody in their life. And then you are this beacon walking through life and you're just attracting because you're embodying that vision of you want to be. You're just collapsing all your other realities and you're creating this reality for you as truth.
Mhm.
And it's just magic. I don't have another word for it except this is magic. So magical.
Mm. I could feel that so strongly, and I know what that is like. And being able to be with the people that you are here to serve and show up for them is such a gift. And it feels so good when we're working with people that are misaligned to us. It's draining. It's
Mm-hmm.
exhausting. And if we're not having that, proper energy reciprocation too, it can be also even more depleting. But I can feel how deeply you are in flow. So there is just this incredible energy radiating from you, showing people and everyone listening, I'm sure, can feel it. But it is basically just this is possible. And it doesn't have to be that hard, but you don't have to do it alone. I feel like
Yeah.
your field and aura are so inviting into possibility in a way that's very grounded and very accessible.
Thank you
Yeah.
for saying that. That feels like a true sparkly moment of my week. And I feel openly so full of gratitude that this is my life path. This is where my soul contract took me, because it could have taken me a million different ways. And I thought it was going to. I thought where I was meant to be was a corporate management consultant. And that would have been a fine, okay life full of its own beauty. But this life is something that I might get to my next incarnation and soulful contract and go, okay, I've seen what's possible. Let's do it again.
Mm. I love that. I love that you're accepting of the paths that could have been, but so deeply honoring this one that you're in now. And that too just shows this mastery that you have where you're not resisting or in judgment.
Mm,
So I want to honor as well that the way that you hold this energetic field and frequency is truly as a leader for this new paradigm in full embodiment and integrity. I can feel that you are walking the talk. And can we just take a moment to honor that because there are so many people who have risen into the role of healer and guide who
mm,
are not yet embodied in what they are teaching. And
mm,
that's not necessarily wrong or bad because it is a catalyst and it can be a great other learning experience for them and for other people. But I just love seeing leaders and healers and teachers who are truly in that field so that they can literally show people what it feels like instead of just telling them.
yes. It's so delicious, isn't it? And I felt that way when I met you and we had our conversation, that you were that person and you were living in your embodiment and in your truth. And the way you speak, it is coded for activation. I even felt it after our first chat. I was like, wow, something just unlocked I was able to journal about it, pull it through. It's actually part of what came through with my work happened after our conversation. So I reflect that back to you too, because seeing and being around women, especially that are radiating that, is a
Mm.
certain kind of power that feels like it's what we all need. It's what we all are moving into. And if the world is operating that way, if the systems are being driven by that, then can you imagine the world that we can create?
Do you imagine it all the time? It's what I came here to do. And so I'm just so grateful you're part of that mission. And we were talking about how people can exist in this space of tension between the old world crumbling and the new one that we are building. And I believe it's exactly what we've been speaking into. It's focusing on your own personal divine connection, power, and gifts, and coming into presence to be the energy that we want to see in the world, to be the change, to be the example, and it ripples out from there. So, for people that are listening, what advice would you have for someone who is on that journey? What can they do for themselves to support them in getting to this space?
What's so interesting is what comes through is not what my logic mind would like to say. So I'm going to honor what's coming through, which is completely different. Connect with ancestors, connect with loved ones who have passed. Listen for those messages in any way that you can feel. Sit in front of a fire and ask, if you don't have loved ones who have passed, ancestors, guides to come and deliver messages. for you, through you, around you, in all the ways you can call in. Because what I have found time and time again is that when we call in the wisdom of those that are here to support us, and we actively allow our loved ones to remind us of why we are all here and what it is like to be part and connected to all things, we regain a remembrance and sense of power that feels long forgotten, but is just a single breath away.
Mm. Breathing that in. That felt like a transmission that people needed to hear.
Hmm.
I love that. And as you were speaking, if I were to add into it, I would also say the earth is speaking as well.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying earlier, Gaia has been very present and very loud. So between our luminous ancestors and nature and the rest of our team and the divine itself and people like you and me, we are so supported.
Mm-hmm.
And are we open to receive it? So they can loop back to the beginning of our conversation too and
Mm-hmm.
start to take stock and say, like, am I available for the magic? Am I able to come into presence? Am I able to take a compliment and feel pleasure? And
Mm-hmm.
if not, that's where the healing begins, and they can book in with you and you can support them with that.
Yeah, I would be honored to support anyone on their journey. Healers, light workers, especially, is such a special place to be because we are feeding off of each other's synchronicities and heart shaped, heartfelt spaces in the world. And I really feel this conversation itself as just a transmission and trust, this divine trust. It is something that really creates so much openness for the receiving, but also for the action, the embodied action, which takes it to the next level.
Exactly. When we're in that trust and faith, then we're not on the defensive, or we're not putting up the shields from all the abundance and support that wants to flow in. So, absolutely, it's such a big crux. And I just love that you weave in so many different pieces from the ancestral to the, supernatural to the nervous system to the beliefs. And it's all necessary. So seeing someone who has that holistic approach that can feel frequencies and see energy, it's so amazing. So if people want to dive deeper into your work, what are the best ways for them to do so? I'll of course put your links below. And I would love for them to listen to the Soul Threads podcasts so they can receive more of that. But where else on the internet are you hanging out?
Yeah, so I am on Soul Threads posting that podcast. I am also on social media, so Instagram, but I will be launching a YouTube channel as well. That is just very exciting. And I write on Substack in long form, which is a gift to myself. It is where I share a different currency frequency of this energy and is just kind of like a warm hug.
I can imagine your voice is, so I'm sure the written word is as well. I'm going to find you on Substack because I know we're connected on the
Mhm.
other places. And I'm just inviting everyone who feels that resonance with you to follow you on the places, well, all over, but also to reach out to connect with you for a session to get started because I just absolutely, without having worked with you myself, would have
Mhm.
zero issues recommending your work to anyone else because I can feel that integrity that you operate with. And so, yeah, just so excited for you to continue this work and keep rippling all of this out into the world because it is magical and divine, and the world needs your presence and your light. So, thank you so, so much for joining me today. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
Mm. I will share a last message and thank you. What came through was like, oh, magical goddess, thank you for saying all of that. And I feel it so deeply. And just to have that conversation of resonance is what makes this life just extremely beautiful. It feels like something coming through that just wants to be mentioned around hope and resilience from a place of love. So, allowing yourself to hope as an act of resistance and resilience, and to not just sit with the possibility of hope, but turn that hope into aligned action through love, the ripple effects of love in action, whether that's just helping someone at the grocery store, allowing your friends or family to get a little closer and receive a little more from them, like we talked about, and giving in the ways that may feel forgotten but are just right at your fingertips. And when we do that, when we do these simple yet divinely incredible and beautiful things, it brings us closer to ourselves, our frequency, and allows us the space to be exactly as we want to be in our vision. So thank you so much for sharing this space with me. It is truly a giddy delight.
Oh, I love it. We were so chill, but giddy delight also is the vibe. That
It's
is so
inside.
beautiful. And the energy of that aligned action, I just want to share that sometimes can seem very like confusing when we are in that disconnected state.
Mhm.
It becomes clear when we are divinely reconnected, when we activate our soul gift and when we allow ourselves to receive, and we can more easily ask and have the answer just drop in or come from our heart of like, what is the next right step for me? And when people do these small practices to reconnect, then the path forward does get clearer and it's paved with literal fairy dust and magic and unicorns and joy and sparkles that can seem delusional to people who are not available to that yet. But it really is the way that people can be able to be in that. I don't love the word resistance too, but like the counterpoint to what is happening in the world today and to be the energy that they want to actually spread into the world. So thank you for everything that you've shared. This has also been so delightful for me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sure it's not the last conversation we will have, but I have enjoyed every millisecond of it. So sending you all so much love. Please make sure you share with us on Instagram or other places how you enjoyed the episode. And if you feel like there's someone that needs to hear this message, share this podcast with them too, because there are so many codes. This is one that you could listen to again and again. Maybe when you are feeling like you're actually like sleepy and you need company drifting off, because I know the voices that we have and the codes that we carry can bring that really safe energy in.
Mhm.
People tell me I put them to sleep and our voices sound similar. So I'm just like, listen to this whenever you need to remember that everything's gonna be okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe and share this out to people that need to hear it. Tag us on social media. You can find us at the Luminous Evolution on Instagram. And keep the conversation going by joining my free sacred community, Luminous Evolution, on Facebook, and get a taste of my favorite tools and techniques inside my free Frequency Upgrade Academy. You can also join me inside my membership, mastermind, certification programs, or private coaching to be deeply supported on your evolutionary journey. Make sure to check out the links in the show notes, and cheers to your infinite, luminous evolution.